Yeah, he was trying to encourage me to hook up with other guys and do all this stuff.
Hold on. So he goes past like you can just go take your clothes off and give a lap dance to now he's like encouraging you to sleep with other men in order to make income for your family.
No, not for income. Not for income. No. He was trying to hook me up with one of his friends, sending nude pictures of me to his friend. This was not for money.
Every time I turn on my phone or the TV, it feels like the world's falling apart. The news is full of chaos, and if that's all you ever see, it's easy to believe everything's just getting worse. But that's not what I'm seeing behind the scenes. In real life, in our communities, I'm watching God move like I've never seen before. I've seen lives restored, churches growing, revival happening at business events, people stepping out in faith, and God giving dreams and visions, calling people to rise up and make a difference. And that's why I started Transforming Communities, because I want to show you what God is actually doing right now. I want to introduce you to my friends, people who are stepping up, taking risks, and transforming their cities for the kingdom. So if you're tired of bad news and you've been wondering if God still moves, He does, and these stories prove it. To support what we're doing and to hear more stories like this, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to be notified every time a new podcast drops, just click the bell icon next to the subscribe button. With that being said, let's jump into the Transforming Communities podcast. This episode is brought to you by Helping Captives. You know, it's crazy how many people don't realize that human trafficking isn't just somewhere else. It happens right here in our own communities. Helping Captives is a faith-based anti-trafficking organization that exists to provide freedom, hope, and opportunity to survivors of sex trafficking across the United States. They do this through their different services such as emergency and stabilization, 24/7 around-the-clock care, professional counseling, and much more. If you're a survivor of sex trafficking and need help, or you're wanting to support a survivor's journey, take the first step at helpingcaptives.org. That's helpingcaptives.org. Today on the Transforming Communities podcast, we're having a really powerful conversation, but I want to say this up front. Parts of this episode are very heavy and the content is not suitable for young listeners. So I just want you to keep that in mind as you begin to lean in and listen to this episode. Today, I had the opportunity to sit down with Brianna Thaxton, and her story is one that really speaks to identity pressure and finding a way out when you feel stuck. She shares about a season in her life where she felt trapped in an unhealthy and abusive situation, where addiction inside her marriage created pressure for her to step into environments she never wanted to be in, including working in strip clubs just to try to provide and survive. But what makes Brianna's story so impactful isn't just what she walked through, it's how she found a way out with Jesus. Today, she's a life coach helping women who feel stuck in similar situations learn how to create income, rebuild their confidence, and step into a healthier identity without compromising themselves. This conversation really speaks to the reality of what a lot of people, especially young women, are being told in today's culture and offers a different path forward. So let's get into it. Here's my conversation with Brianna Thaxton.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am here with the one and only Brianna Thaxton, and she has a pretty interesting story, and she's had quite the life experience, and she's doing some amazing things in coaching and learning a lot about personal brand and helping women that have this heart to kind of go into that sphere, and also are maybe in a position where they're not married or they've had something happen and they need to figure out how to make some income. This is kind of how she ended up getting into the situation, because she has a very interesting story and she wants to be able to share that with us today. And I'm excited to learn and hear from her. One of the things that made me really want to do the show is we were at the Be Bold for Jesus conference, and I was walking by and I noticed your booth, and I thought, wow, this is really awesome that she has this booth on this topic, and I don't see that a lot in Spokane. So one, it stuck out to me that somebody was willing to kind of put themselves out there for their own personal business, like what she does. But then the real thing kind of hit as we were having a conversation with her testimony and her story. And there's a little bit of a connection with her story and the building that we are turning into the Freedom Center. And so we are so excited to be able to have you on the show. And thank you for being willing to share. And thank you for being willing to not be intimidated to be real, to be honest, and to now, use your life to advance the kingdom of God. And I think such a cool testimony that you have. What, could you take me back to your early years and let us know kind of what your childhood was like growing up?
Yes, definitely. So I grew up in Spokane, in Dogtown.
Okay.
If you know Dogtown,
Yes, I do.
Part of Hilliard, yeah.
Yeah.
So I grew up there, and I'm the baby of 7.
Okay.
I'm a single mom.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we didn't have very much money growing up. That was kind of like life when I was younger. And I didn't have much of a relationship with my dad. A lot of that's kind of by choice. It just wasn't the best for me.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's really life. When I was young, like I went to church, and with my mom, I'm very grateful that she brought us to church. And I never really, at that time, knew like a lot about God. I didn't have anybody like disciple me and stuff like that, right?
Sure.
But I saw like the little David and Goliath and the cartoon stories and things like that.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like my knowledge of God at the time. But I definitely believe that he was there as well throughout all my life. So I grew up believing in the Lord, and grew up not with a whole lot of financial wealth
Sure.
this year. So
Yeah. Did you did you not have necessarily a healthy family growing up?
oh, you could say that, yeah. For sure, yeah.
What was that kind of dynamic like?
It was difficult. My mom, she worked full time.
Okay.
And went to college full time. She had been in a relationship with my dad. They were married, and she finally left him because he was very physically abusive.
Mm-hmm.
So they divorced when I was a baby.
Okay.
And then he moved across the street. So it was interesting. Yeah, it was interesting.
Okay.
I had to see him sometimes for supervised visits when I was younger, and got older, and I just was like, it's not.
So even when you were a kid, the only way to see him was supervised visits?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
it was
pretty
supposed
rough
to be
situation.
when I was little, yeah. As I got older, I could go see him, but I just didn't really want to. I mean, he had threatened to kidnap my sister and me and stuff like that sometimes. So.
Yeah, pretty good reason maybe not to go see the guy. Yeah. Do you think, okay, interesting. So you didn't necessarily have, did you have any kind of father figure growing up at all?
No.
Okay.
No. My closest was my 3 big brothers, and I loved them. They were very honoring growing up. So
yeah. 3 boys from Hilliard.
yes,
Got
and
it.
they were getting in a lot of trouble themselves. So it was not a good father figure.
Okay. Do you think some of the decisions you made later on in life might have came out of not having a father figure at all?
100%.
Okay.
100%, yeah.
Interesting. Well, maybe we'll get into that a little later. So you were, so when you grow up with that, you're growing up without a father. So basically and then some 3 rowdy brothers from Hilliard. Do you, so is society basically kind of raising you? You're going to church a little bit, but you're kind of getting your just who am I, what my value is, what my worth is, just kind of from just being in public school and just in culture in general. You're not necessarily getting that from dad or church.
Yeah, I wasn't.
Okay.
It was really difficult, especially growing up not having a lot of money, go to public school, and I felt like the other kids a lot of them were better off than us financially, and so I felt like I didn't fit in there. It was interesting.
There's some schools around there that, I mean, when we had our food distribution center, fortunately, we were giving lots of food to the schools down in there. It's rough, and a lot of them can't really even afford food. But one of the things I will say is some of the teachers were phenomenal, and they had huge hearts for the kids. But yeah, it's difficult when you don't have money and you want that stability, and then opportunities present themselves, and you think, well, this is how I can bring stability to my life. If you never had that growing up, or you never taught, like, here's all these skills and other ways of making income. That's why we see a lot of women that we work with have similar childhoods and get into different things. Maybe they just wanted to, have a lot of them even started out just wanting new shoes or new different like little things that maybe their friends had and they just wanted to kind of fit in. Yeah, that's interesting. How do you, so you have this childhood, and then what's high school like?
So we moved to the South Hill when I was about 13. And I went to, my mom, she worked really hard. She got into nursing.
I would say if you went from Hilliard to the South Hill, it's a big jump.
Yeah, she worked really, really hard and finally got us into a nice neighborhood. And
wow.
But still growing up where I did in my younger years, I took a lot of that mindset up to now the South Hill, where there's a lot of people doing really well, and I felt like I didn't fit in there too, right?
Sure.
And so there's the kids that are like getting in a lot of trouble.
Because you're not lower South Hill, you're like up on the South Hill.
Yeah, up near Ferris, actually.
Oh yeah, so great neighborhood, lots of money up there.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, makes sense.
So then I'm like, well, I still have the mindset of, feeling kind of less than financially. And so I'm like, there's the kids that are getting into trouble. And then there's the kids that their families are together. They're doing really well financially. And I didn't feel like I fit in with them, but I didn't want to hang out with the other kids, right? 9th grade, though, it got really hard. I was trying to live right, trying to do right, and I was mocked a lot for that. And it got so hard where it's like, I finally kind of just gave up and started hanging out with the wrong kids. I was shoplifting and running away from home and stuff like that. So,
okay,
yeah,
sounds very familiar.
Yeah.
Were you going to church at the time?
I was, and actually, it was about a half a year of my rebellious stage, where I was like really rebellious, and it's wild stories. I had got taken to CRC, if you know what CRC is. And I broke out of there and led the other kids out, and they're like, we've never had this happen in the history of this place. So I was really wild, and then all of a sudden I came to this place where I was like, if I'm doing this stuff now, where am I going to be in like 5 or 10 years? And I didn't want that. And at that point, I gave my life to the Lord. And I gave all of that stuff up. So I homeschooled myself in 10th grade. And then the next 2 years,
Whoa, back up. So, hold on a second. So freshman year, you go into Ferris, and you kind of get in with the wrong crowd, start partying, doing your thing. You realize you want to have a life change, and so you decide to homeschool yourself.
Yes.
Okay, that's not normal.
Yeah.
So was this like this entrepreneurial spirit in you? Because that's what you are. You're a serial entrepreneur now, but it sounds like you kind of had that in you then, where you're like, okay, I need to make a life change. But why life change leads? How does life change lead to homeschooling, and how does homeschooling yourself happen? That sounds very interesting to me.
So my mom worked full time.
Okay.
She couldn't homeschool me, and I wanted to get away from the crowds that I was hanging out with, and I knew I couldn't continue on that path. And a lot of the kids in Ferris were getting into drugs at the time. They were just all sorts of drugs, right? It started out with pot and it got harder after that. And I was smoking pot, but I didn't want to get into the harder things. And I was like, I really need to break away from this. And just the school system, the way that the kids treat each other, and the bullying, all of this stuff, I'm just like done with it. And I had this feeling that homeschooling would be the best thing for me. So I asked my mom if I could be homeschooled, and so she got me the stuff, and I'd wake up in the morning and I'd read my textbooks, and I would spend all day doing work for a few days straight and then not have work for like a few weeks. And so I got to get out and do a lot of things. It was very freeing.
Yeah. So you liked the ability, kind of like in real life business, where you see a problem and then you kind of get to solve it in the way that makes sense to you. So you would grind for like, I'm going to bust all this math out for 3 days straight and then take a break. And that worked better for you than going to like block classes where it's like 40 minutes of this and then moving to this. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, it was 9-day difference.
Okay. So the reason I'm looking at that is it sounds like just even with the mindset that you had then, God would be calling you into business at some point, and maybe not, wanting to work for an individual, but actually having the working for yourself and solving complex issues. So interesting, because I just find a lot of people that end up selling drugs or getting into other things. There is an entrepreneur spirit in there, and it just hasn't been pointed in the right direction.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so you're homeschooling yourself your sophomore year, and then what happens next?
So I tested for Running Start, and they said I tested high enough that I could have completely failed 9th and 10th grade and still been able to do Running Start, go to college. And so I took it as a sign that I didn't have to finish 10th grade, and I took a lot of the year off. I still did like my science. I loved the botany that I was studying, the science stuff. It was really cool. But the rest of it, I just tossed to the side. I went to college when I was 16 for criminal justice.
Okay.
And I've learned so much in there. It's so good.
Yeah.
Just like being aware of your surroundings. And,
yeah. Interesting. So you end up in college at 16 years old and going to Running Start. Does your decision to be homeschooled and isolate a little bit help in any way of you changing your environment with your friend group? And does that lead you closer to the Lord, or does that lead you, when you get to college, does that lead you farther away from the Lord?
At the time when I chose to homeschool myself, it really brought me closer to the Lord.
Okay.
So I got baptized, and I just had this massive transformation where, I wasn't even like butting heads with my mom anymore. It's like this rebellious teenager. We have really good talks. My mom and I are like best friends now. And a lot of it really took me to like this further relationship with the Lord that I didn't know I could have yet, but I still didn't know the depth that I could go with the Lord, right? And I didn't have anybody discipling me. So I was going to church at the time, and then our church fell apart. And so then I was no longer going to church during my college years. And for a while, I was sticking really close with the Lord. And then as time went on, I started to go to parties and hang out with kind of the wrong crowd in certain areas. Not like the worst, crowds, but still going to parties and drinking and things like that.
So college, you end up just kind of, you get into the college life at 16 years old.
Probably a little bit closer to 17, 18.
Okay.
But yeah, it's not much difference, right?
Totally. What ends up happening next?
So, when I was in college, I met this girl. We were really good friends. And kind of like at the end of the program, the end of the 2 years of college, she and I were talking about running off to Hawaii.
Okay.
We're just like, oh, we're so tired, guys. Let's just run away to Hawaii, And I was working as a waitress at the time. And so we were going to save up our money and go off to Hawaii. And she was like, yeah, I found this job. And I'm making all this money, and I'm going to go in a few weeks. And I'm like, I can't make that much money in a few weeks. She was going to leave for Hawaii without me. And so she told me what the job was. And she was working at Deja Vu.
Okay.
And I knew, even though I wasn't totally following the Lord, I still prayed, still read my Bible. And I'm like, that's not for me. But there was kind of this feeling of like, she's going to go without me. And so I went and I checked it out and started working at Deja Vu.
Okay.
When I was about 18.
Okay. I'm noticing can you move this a little close? No, you're fine. Just, move it a little closer to you. So you start working at Deja Vu as soon as you basically just turned 18. What's it like the first time walking into there, knowing that you're not just visiting, but you're going to dance? That's got to be an interesting feeling.
It was nerve-wracking.
Yeah,
it's
I can
kind
imagine.
of like, what am I doing?
Okay.
But there's also, like, you've already made the decision to even show up.
Okay.
And so it's like you just one step after the next. This is the next thing you do. This is the next thing. They had you come in and do an interview, kind of.
Okay. What's that look like?
That's you have to go back in this back room with the manager, and you have to strip everything off. And he looks at you, and he's like, "Okay." And
So to interview, you have to go back, meet with a guy, and he has to decide whether you're good enough
Yes.
looking or not.
yeah,
And that's it. So there's no dancing, none of that.
no.
Okay.
No.
Uh,
No, and so, yeah, that was it, and I began working there. There was so much, there's so much shame, but when you go there, it's like you don't want to talk about it outside of there, but when you're there, you're like, this is just what I do,
Sure.
and you don't think into it so much. Like if you're just out and about, you wouldn't think, oh, I'm gonna go and get undressed and dance in front of people. That's not
Yeah.
normal. But when you're there, the environment, the lights, the music, and all of that stuff, like the
Yeah.
environment is so different that it's
Yeah.
like your brain, a part of your brain kind of switches off, I would say.
Yeah. Got it. So it just kind of it's like you're walking into the environment, and now your mind just kind of clicks over and says, okay, now I'm going into this part of my life. So are you almost kind of disassociating
Oh, yeah.
in order to perform?
Yeah.
Okay. How long do you end up doing that for?
I worked at Deja Vu for about 1 month.
Okay.
And then I heard about State Line. My friend was told State Line was better. So we went over there. And that's just, 20 minutes difference.
Yeah.
And so we started going to State Line, and it was really weighing on me. Like, because I knew the Lord before, and I felt really disconnected. I felt like there was no hope for me. And I would go home by myself at the end of the night, and I would just be like, what am I doing? Like, I'm not really happy. These people around me, they act like they're happy with the parties and with this and that. But inside, I was just so miserable. And I would cry at night and pray to the Lord. And he gave me a dream at that time, like showing me in the palm of his hand. And so I knew at that time, like, he could still forgive me.
Yeah.
He still loved me despite what I was doing, because I knew what I was doing was wrong, and I was doing it anyway. And so because of that, I thought there was no chance for forgiveness.
Okay.
But yeah, so that was really it. And I left there and then went to go stay with a friend in North Carolina to help her out. She was having a baby. She had another one at home already. So
Okay.
I went to go stay with her.
Got it. So you end up leaving State Line, and you had enough money or something saved up to kind of go over and help her out. Okay. What's next in your life? That sounds like an interesting journey.
It was interesting.
Did you find a club over in North Carolina, or did you kind of say this? I'm going to take this opportunity as a fresh start, or?
Yeah, so I had saved up enough money because my friend had reached out to me and said, she needed help over there. And so I saved up enough money, went over there and helped her out, stayed with her for a while. And I had a brother over there also. He was in the Army, so I'd go stay with him or with her. And at the time, I was just taking a break. I knew I wasn't going to go back to dancing. I was done with that. But, yeah. And then at the time, I was on, if you remember, MySpace. I was on MySpace, and I met a man on MySpace.
Okay.
And we started talking.
Okay.
So,
Awesome. So you meet this guy on MySpace, and yeah, good old MySpace. For kids that don't know what that is, it's like Facebook, but you can build like cooler pages.
it was way better than Facebook.
Yeah, and you could have like music, and yeah, I was so dumb back then. I would put pictures of like us smoking weed, or like all the weed that I had, and like all this stuff, thinking like parents couldn't just go onto my MySpace and like see all that I was doing. We were just kind of like putting everything out there. But yeah, MySpace was it was kind of fun building the pages and trying to like kind of brand who you are, I guess, in a certain way. So you meet this guy on MySpace, and you're in North Carolina. And is this the guy that you end up marrying?
Yes.
Okay. So is he is he also living in North Carolina?
No, he was in Washington State.
Okay.
But he had set his MySpace, the zip code, to that area that I was in because he was looking for old friends from his college years when he was just over there. And so...
Oh, he went to college in North Carolina?
Yeah, like over in that area. Not
Okay.
North Carolina, but I think around Virginia.
Okay.
And so he's looking for friends over there. And I had changed my zip code to that area because I was just meeting up with people,
Yeah.
looking to connect with people.
Yeah.
And somehow we connected, and I'm like, this is so weird. Because he's
Okay.
like from back home.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. What, so do you end up moving back home to be with him? Does he come out to you? How do you?
So I came back home, and I was only in North Carolina for about 4 months or so.
Okay.
And then I came back home, and we met in person, and we just started hanging out like after like every weekend.
Okay.
So
What did you do for work when you got back from North Carolina?
I actually was washing windows
Okay.
with a company out in the valley. Yeah, I got on with this business out there. We're doing like commercial and the big beautiful houses and 40-foot ladder, crazy things. It was
That's crazy.
yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't do the 40-foot ladder thing. I'd have to find a different way to make money. What, God bless people that can do that. That blows my mind. I remember when I was in New York, we went up and we're looking at like how they built the buildings in New York. They're just sitting out on some of these platforms, and I just have such a fear of heights. So I just was just like, these guys are different. But I mean, I guess there's got to be people that aren't afraid of heights to get things done. So God bless them, but that is not me. So you end up working there, doing the windows, meeting the guy, and then you guys eventually get married.
Yes.
Are you going back to church while you guys are married? Do you guys have like, because it doesn't sound like you met the guy at church, so I'm assuming your marriage isn't necessarily built on Christ, and or is it? Are you guys going to church? Do you guys have a healthy relationship, or is it just kind of you fall in love and decide to get married?
When we first started dating, we were not dating the way that God would want us to.
Okay.
And yeah, but I told him that I really wanted to dive into my relationship with the Lord more. It was really important to me.
Okay.
And he agreed, and he said, yeah, like he wouldn't marry somebody unless they would take his kids to church kind of thing. And
Oh,
so
wow.
I was like, perfect. I was like, I'm right there with you. And I wanted a big family, and he wanted a big family. I wanted to live out in the country. He wanted to live out in the country. So
Okay.
it seemed like a good fit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys get married, and then what happens after year 5?
After year 5, I found out that he had been cheating on me throughout our marriage.
Okay.
And it was such a big blow to me because I always thought he's, this great guy. He's very respectable, and I thought he would... There was, like, red flags, things that were popping up and happening, but he always had an answer, and I never wanted to accuse him of lying if I didn't actually know that he was lying, because I didn't want to cause problems or be, like, this nagging wife or jealous wife. I didn't want to be like that, and so I just wouldn't dive into a lot of the things I was seeing, and I'd always tell myself, like, at least he comes home to me. At least he's not going out to the clubs or to the bars. He comes home to me. But then 5 years in, I discovered something on his phone, and everything unraveled. And I found out that none of that was actually accurate. So
What's that feel like when you're a wife and you find out your husband's been sleeping with somebody else?
it kills you inside. It really does. It kills you inside. Feeling like this is the person I was going to spend the rest of my life with. This is the person that, I thought I'm going to grow old with him. We have children together. At the time, we had 3 babies together. And it was like he was my life. I left home. We were living in North Idaho at the time. I'd given up my hopes, my dreams, everything like that. because life with him was my dream. My ultimate dream above business or anything else, above careers or anything, was to settle down, have a big family, live in the country with the man of my life, like the man of my dreams, right?
Yeah.
And so I thought that I had that with him. And I would make excuses for things that were going on. Well, every marriage has problems, right? And so I would downplay things. But when I found that out, it was like, one way that I tried to describe it, even to him, was feeling like you're behind the curtain and you see things a certain way, and he's out in front of the curtain, and everybody else is like, he's doing stuff out here, everybody else knows. And then one day the curtain gets ripped down, and it's like everything that was going on the whole time you were completely unaware of, you were ignorant of, you had no idea there was this whole complete different life that you just didn't know was there. And so it shakes your reality. It shakes everything that you thought you knew. It shakes how you see yourself.
How does it shake how you see yourself?
It destroys your identity when you feel like, this person, I love them, they love me. You feel deserving of their love because you think that there's this mutual connection there. And when you find out that they're cheating on you with other people, they're on dating sites or watching porn, like porn is a huge thing. I'm absolutely against that as well. But when you find out that all of this is going on, it's like, I wasn't enough. I wasn't pretty enough. I can't compare to these other women. I saw the pictures of women that they were sending pictures to him. And I'm like, feeling I can't compete with that. And I start comparing every part of my body to these other women and feeling like I'm lacking here, I'm lacking there, I'm lacking there. I'm not that, I'm not that. And it really just breaks you down, like piece by piece.
How help explain this to people, because I think some people might be thinking, you worked at a strip club, why would you care about pornography?
That's a really good question. I know. And it's funny. When I worked at the strip club, I was very much against it. So just because you're doing something doesn't mean that you agree with it. It doesn't mean that you think it's right.
Okay.
There's a lot of times that people do things and they feel wrong to do it, but they'll do it anyway. And so later they can still say that was wrong, right? At that time, yeah, I'm very much against pornography. I think it really drags a wedge in relationships. There's so many studies on how it affects the human mind, and people, we work for something and then we achieve something, and then you have your hormones is spike, and you're just like, wow, this is great, right? You have this reward system. And with pornography, it's like, you don't have to work for anything in a relationship. In a relationship, you have to put in time. You have to be kind to the person. You help them. You're partners. You're working in life together. And because of that bond, then you can be intimate with each other and love each other. And you have this intimate relationship with each other. But pornography, like, erodes all of that. It's instant gratification. It's when you want it. So you can be really mean to your wife and then expect her to be intimate with you, and then she's like, no, you're being really mean. Well, okay, well, I got this, right? And there's just so many layers to it. Also, like, when you start with it, it's like drugs, where now you need something harder and harder and harder. And a lot of people just go down dark places with pornography. So
do you think a lot of the guys that would end up going to the club probably started with pornography, and that's kind of what led them to wanting to go to the strip club?
Oh, I would for sure think so.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is I don't think that there's like a certain type of guy that goes to the strip clubs. There's like multiple types. Because you see the people that go there and they're having like the bachelor party. They're just loud and obnoxious, and they're
drunk.
And they're just wild. And for them, it's like a special occasion, right?
Yeah.
And then there's other men who go there because they're out doing business and they're looking for something to kill time. And then there's the other men that are really sick, twisted guys that I wish, like women, they meet so many people there and it's just like, I wish I'd never met some of these people. But then there's also these other men who go there and I see they have a lot of their own insecurities.
Okay.
And I would say almost the same like with pornography. Like you don't have to try to earn attention from a woman and all stuff. It's like instant gratification. Like you go to the club and you don't have to try to present yourself a certain way. You don't have to have the right words to say. The women just come to you.
Sure.
Right? And
you just need some money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. But I've seen a lot of men there that there was part of my heart like kind of went out to them because I'm like, they have insecurities, I could tell. And they didn't know how to talk to women. They just want to be around women.
Got it.
So
I
still think that it's wrong. But
sure. But there was a part of you that was like, this is kind of sad because
Yeah.
they just they're not getting any attention from a female. So they're like, this is my only way of being able to do it. What, so why didn't you leave your husband right then when you found out he was cheating on you? It sounds like you stuck around, tried making it work, but that kind of led to some other things.
Yeah. I couldn't really leave at the time because he was working in a different state. He was working in Wyoming, and we had actually just packed up our travel trailer and went to go stay with him for a while before I found out that he was cheating. And it was on the drive down there from Wyoming, or from Idaho to Wyoming, that I found this on his phone. And so now I'm like really far from family. We have one truck pulling the trailer and we got 3 little babies. And I'm like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
So I can't take the truck, drive all the way back home with these 3 kids. And so for a while I was kind of stuck with him in a little travel trailer.
Yeah.
And was trying to make things work. We had kids together.
Yeah.
Everybody else in my family had kids with somebody and didn't end up staying with them, right? And I didn't want that for my kids. And I knew I wish I had a dad in my life. It was good for me that I didn't have my dad in my life.
Sure.
But I wish I'd had a dad in my life, and so I didn't want to take that from my kids. I am really against divorce, and I thought if this can be salvaged, I thought that would be better.
Yeah.
And so I stayed with him for a long time. But it was like this constant up and down cycle of, I'm sorry, I'm never going to do this again. You never deserve this. And then I find out things are happening again. And there was like constant threats of him leaving. And just, it was really chaotic for a long time. But finally, I was so broken down from everything going on in the marriage that I really wanted to get a job and leave. And then I found out I was pregnant again. And so, and so I should actually say while I was with him, in Wyoming and stuff, I ended up having another baby. So I had 3, and then after a while I had 4. So now,
because you're trying to make it work, and so then you guys have another kid.
Yeah. And so I get back home, like we finally left Wyoming, and I really wanted to leave because I just realized this is a pattern. It just keeps happening. Doesn't matter how good it seems. And he improved in so many like areas of our relationship. Like he's a great man in so many areas. But there's this one side that just like kills you inside.
Okay.
And so I really wanted to leave the marriage, but now I've got 4 kids and I'm pregnant with number 5. And how am I going to do that? I was a stay-at-home mom for so long, and I was like, I'm going to be going back out into like the world trying to work and support 5 kids. I don't know how I'm going to do this. But
I thought you said you had 3 kids and you were pregnant with 4.
So I had 3 when I found out that he was cheating on me.
Got it. Okay.
And then I had a 4th one when we were on the road because he was working on the road, railroad, oil and stuff. Okay. And then we came back and we're back home for a while. And I found out that I was pregnant again.
Okay.
And so then I'm thinking, okay, I've got to stay. I've got to try to make this work. And while I was pregnant, he had made a comment about my body.
Okay.
Because he wanted me to get implants, and so I got implants. And he made this joke about them paying for themselves. And that really crushed me.
Okay.
There's just so many little things that he would say and do that somehow he thought was okay.
So you had gotten surgery years before, and then now you're pregnant with your 5th kid, and he just mentions something about your body that they should pay for themselves.
Yeah, and it was just a joke. He would make, I don't know why he would think these things are okay, but I would say, again, like, pornography really messes with people's minds. And it's not something that I would, like, look at him and think he's going to say something like that. But it was just out of the blue. And he said this ridiculous comment, and a couple weeks later, I lost my baby. I was 6 months along, and was having subchorionic hemorrhaging and stuff like that going on, and held him in my arms while he passed away. It was really a traumatic time for me, and when I came out of that, I was like, I've got to leave. Like, I don't have a 5th baby now to take care of. I've just got to get out of this relationship. It was really destroying me. Like, there were days that I didn't want to be alive anymore because of the things I was going through in my marriage. I tell people it's like you become an empty shell of who you once were.
Yeah.
And that's really what it feels like. I was so broken down, so insecure, couldn't talk to people. Like, I had 2 friends I hardly ever saw. And even at the time going to church, like, I felt like I couldn't look anybody in the eye. I felt like I couldn't have conversations with people. And I just felt very low about myself, where he was like this charismatic person. Everybody thought he was amazing. But I was hiding the things that were going on in our marriage because I'm trying to honor my husband. I don't want to make him look bad, and especially I'm trying to work things out with him.
Yeah.
And so after I lost the baby, it was just a couple weeks later, and I'm like, I want to get a job. And there was a restaurant up the highway that was hiring, and he didn't want me to do that. He didn't want me to be a waitress, and he had a term that he said for people that are waitresses and stuff. And so out of spite, because of what he was saying about being a waitress, and then he thought it was kind of a low thing for women to do, and that guys look at them a certain way. That's what he was essentially saying. So because of what he's saying about that, and then his comment a few weeks prior, I was like, fine, I'm going to go do this again. So he, at the time, I had no intention of actually doing that. It was like this anger and just like I was surprised that he made this comment, but he doesn't want me to be a waitress because of how guys look at waitresses, apparently.
Yeah.
And he told me if I wanted to do that, he would be okay with it. And so he drove me down the next day to go apply.
That's got to be a weird feeling, because what I'm hearing you tell me is, like, even though you had worked at the strip club, you still wanted safety and security and permanence and commitment from a man. You still wanted to be the only one. You didn't want him looking at porn. You wanted to be the person for him. And then all of a sudden, here you are in a situation where he's cheating on you, and you're like, I'm going to go try and get a job as a waitress. And he's not okay with that, but he's totally okay with you going back to the strip club. How did that feel?
This episode is brought to you by our friends at Be Bold for Jesus. If you've ever felt the urge to live out your faith more boldly, to step up and make an impact in your workplace, your church, or your community, this conference is for you. The Be Bold for Jesus conference is coming back to Spokane, Washington. It's a weekend packed with worship, encouragement, and practical tools to help you live out your faith confidently. You'll hear from incredible speakers who are living examples of what it means to be bold for Christ. Tickets are on sale now at beboldforjesus.org. That's beboldforjesus.org. Grab your tickets today and let's be bold together.
At the time, I was already so broken down from everything I had been going through, and I was 2 weeks out from having just held my baby in my arms while I passed away, and being like helpless with that. So I was already so broken, and I was numb. That at that time, I was just kind of like I was shocked, but not shocked anymore. And So it was just kind of like accepting it and like, okay, if this is what I have to do to make money to get out of this relationship. I had this this drive inside that I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna make as much as I can, save up and get out of this relationship so I can raise my kids and then get into something else. And I had all these ideas. I thought about getting into real estate or this or that, but I needed to have something that could make enough money to actually provide for my kids to be able to lead.
So so you end up doing it?
Yes.
And what's the first time like going back?
It was very intimidating. So he drove me down the following day and I applied, and there was a manager there.
He drove you himself?
He drove me an hour to go and apply.
Okay.
Over an hour to go and apply, and waited for me while I went inside and did the interview.
Sure.
And I was with a manager that I had known before. There was actually a couple managers there that I knew from way back in the day, and they hired me on the spot. And I'm sitting there like thinking I'm not young anymore, and
you just had 5 kids too.
I had 5 kids, and I'm feeling like I'm old, outdated, and there's all these like young, beautiful women, and I'm thinking, how am I even going to be able to do this? But I still had this drive, like, I've got to get out of this marriage. At any cost is what it really felt like. And so I started working there, and I was working 3 nights a week, and I was working double shifts. I didn't go back in the back and hang out with the other girls. They all went in the back and they talk and they chat. And every time I went there, I always told myself, it's just business. I'm just here for business. I'm here for my kids. I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to get out of the marriage and stuff. And so I always hung out up like by the front.
Okay.
I had a locker out front. I didn't want to be around the other stuff that happens in the strip clubs and the drugs and the drinking and all that. I didn't want to be around that scene.
Okay.
And there was actually a lady.
Is it because you have the 4 kids that you're like, I can't get into this side of it? Because you're literally going, I'm doing this just to make money to take care of my family.
I had, during all of my marriage, I was really deep in my relationship with the Lord. And so I spent a lot of time praying and reading, and like God was the only one that got me through all of the hardships, like the times where I'm like, I can't do this anymore. It was my relationship with him and my kids that I kept fighting for. And so being there, I didn't have any desire to get into the other scene. I didn't even want to be there, but I definitely didn't want to go down like even further, right?
Yeah. Do you think if you would have been presented with a different opportunity to make good money, you would have done it? You just didn't know of another option?
100%.
That's something that's been hard for me to rationalize because it's like society, we tell, especially men, it's almost like, hey, if you want to make good money, take your clothes off, like get on OnlyFans, go to the strip club. And so it's almost kind of like imprinted in these young girls as they grow up. Like if I ever get into a situation, like this is my ultimate like way out. And I wish there was other ways that we could provide income for women, which is something you're very passionate about now. But do you think the lack of understanding or knowledge of opportunity kind of just made you go, this is what I got to do?
I think that, coupled with the fact that if I had done other kinds of jobs, I would have faced backlash with my then husband. So even while I was there were so many guys that would talk to me and they're like, why are you here? Like, this doesn't even seem like you. Yeah. And because, you know, I was just very, very much myself and not into all of the wild stuff that the other girls were about. Yeah. And I had, like, there was, for example, this one guy that he had a real estate office, and he was like, you would do really good in real estate. You should come by the office. And he's like, I'll train you. Like, you can come work under me. I'll train you. And so I had his card, and I talked to my then husband about it. And he was absolutely against it. He didn't, it was okay for me to go to a certain location to dance for other men in this way and make money in this way and then come back home to him. But I couldn't talk to other guys in any scenario, even for work, even if it helped me get out of there. So that's...
Wow. What, does it just continue to escalate?
It does. It got really bad. I just felt very objectified from my husband.
Because now he's basically treating you as an object. Like
he was, yeah.
And then
he pretty much had stopped working, and I was supporting us. He would work every once in a while, only if I kind of gave him more of a hard time about it. And yeah, he was trying to encourage me to hook up with other guys and do all this stuff, but it was like out of this really...
Whoa. Hold on. So he goes past, like, you can just go take your clothes off and give a lap dance, to now he's like encouraging you to sleep with other men in order to make income for your family.
No, not for income. Not for income, no. He was trying to hook me up with one of his friends and was sending pictures of me without my knowledge, sending nude pictures of me to his friend. This was not for money. This was twisted, just twisted ideas.
For his own, like, viewing pleasure or whatever. He wanted you to hook up, watch you and his friend together. Oh my gosh.
But I did not do that, but...
Yeah, but the fact that he's even asking it, that must have felt very...
I cried so many times. Like, I really felt very much objectified. And I was like, you're my husband. You're supposed to protect me. And, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how do you end up getting out of that situation? How long were you there?
I was working there for a couple of years. And so there was a couple things that helped me get out of there. One, I would say first and foremost, I kept praying. I would ask the Lord, help me get out of here. And yeah, there was that. There was also, this might sound really weird to people, but there was this older gentleman that would go to the bar side. He didn't like to go to the other side. And I met this older man there, and he wanted to help me get out of there. And he was asking, what do you need to get out of here? And I told him right now, like, I'm paying the bills. I've got to be here. And he asked me how much I was making every night. And he, for a while, actually started paying me not to work there, to hang out with him. And we didn't do anything sexual and stuff, but he would just give me money. He was like, you don't dance. Or he would go there and he would sit with me, but he's like, but you don't dance for anybody else. And he would give me the money, and he was like, what do you need to get out of here? What do you want to do? It's like, well, I wanted to get into real estate kind of. And he's like, what do you need for that? And he's like, I don't have anything to study on. And so he bought me a laptop. And so this guy really poured him into my life in this way. But then, but I still had to, like, I felt like I still had to go there, because I can't just, like he was going there and he'd give me money to sit with him, right?
Okay.
And
at the bar?
Yeah, at the bar or on the other side. It can only be at the bar for so long that it'd make you go back, right? And
is that part of the rules of the club?
Yeah.
And it's like they're like, the bar is just a tool to get over here.
Get them to the other side. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I could only hang out for like a little while. But he would go and he'd hang out with me, and he would give me money to sit with him, hang out with him. And he didn't want me to dance for anybody else. And, I mean, on the one hand, it helped, because then I had a pretty consistent income. And also that I didn't have to dance so much to try to make money anymore. But I was still there. And there were days I still danced like he wasn't there or whatever. But then one day I was there, and it was really quiet. Like, during the day, there's hardly anybody in there. And if anybody comes into the club, even if they're with one of the other girls, and it's your turn to go on stage, you have to go on stage. And there was one man who came in, and he went over with one of the girls, And it was my turn to go on stage. I was on stage, and I looked over, and I looked at this man, and I knew him. He was somebody that I had been really good friends with in youth group, and he was like a brother to me.
Oh, wow. And he's at the strip club.
And he's at the club.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was humiliating. When I got down off the stage, he pointed to me and called me over, and he was like, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" And he's like, "That's a good question." And just a couple of weeks later, he messaged me and asked if I wanted to go grab some coffee. And I told him, he told me, he was like, he'd kind of fallen away from the Lord. He knew how we both had such a heart for the Lord. We were both in like youth worship together and doing all these things. And he realized how far he had fallen from the Lord when he saw me there and how far I had fallen, and it broke his heart. And so he invited me actually first to a women's meeting, an event at his church. And then after that, I started going to his church, and I just left the club.
So you went back to church, and what happened in church that made you go, I'm going to leave the club? Because your situation hadn't changed. Your husband essentially is pimping you out at this point. He's not working. So he's like encouraged you to get into commercial sex work to take care of the family. Maybe pimp is not the right word, but pandering for sure. Like he's encouraged you to get into sex work to take care of the family. You're still in that situation. You still have the kids. And was it just kind of a come to Jesus moment for you and that guy when you saw each other? And then going back to church, you were just like, what happened there? Because you're gonna be giving up all this income. So that's why you're still in a kind of a similar situation. So that's why I'm curious to know what happened at the church.
Yeah, I gave up a lot of income, but it didn't faze me.
Okay.
Because I have very, very strong beliefs in the Lord.
Yeah.
And that this life is so temporary.
Yeah.
So money comes and money goes.
Mm-hmm.
The Lord will bless me. He'll provide for me. He'll take care of me in other ways. And I really had to come to that place where I'm like,
But you hadn't kind of believed that for the past 2 years because you were there. Right. So going back to church kind of reminded you of those things, that God had your back and that he would take care of you in a different way.
It was more of a reminder of something. Like I knew it, but there's a struggle with the faith. Like when you're going through something like that for years and years and years, and I kept praying for my marriage, kept praying for my husband, and just hoping things would change, and it wasn't. And I had to come to a place where I'm like, I'm giving this up. I'm leaving it behind. Like, I don't want to live this life. This is not me. It's not what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I was really essentially allowing, I take responsibility for this too. Like, I was allowing how somebody else was treating me to dictate the way that my life was going to go.
Okay.
And it's so hard when you're there emotionally and mentally when you're in that type of a situation. But I was allowing it for far too long. And I kind of came to this point where I'm like, I have to take charge of this part of my life. I can't continue on this path. I don't want to do this. This is not what God has called me to. He has so much more for me. I know that he does. And so I went to church, and it wasn't even necessarily anything at the church that happened. It was just like that, seeing that God was there, that I'd been praying for a long time, Lord, help me get out of here. And then somebody that I knew that was like a brother to me comes there, and I'm like, okay, this is it. Like, my sign, like, leave, get out of there. And so.
Got it. What do you do? What's the next step to starting to rebuild your life? And do you finally just say, hey, I got to get out of this situation. I got to leave this guy. Like, how does this, what do you do in that situation? What would you tell to a mom that's in a situation right now that's in an abusive relationship, husband's cheating on her, and she's got 4 kids to provide for in her head? Like, that sounds very heavy. got back from a trip last night at midnight and our dishwasher broke, and I got to go fix that today for my wife. And it's just those little things where you have a teammate, and I'm just better at doing electronics and fixing things and rewiring things, or putting, the dishwasher in the house. And that's a small little thing on a day-to-day life, that I feel like not having a teammate or being a mom, and having to even think I'm going to have to take care of all the money for my kids. It just seems like it would be a heavy, burden.
Yeah.
So how did you start to process that and even rebuild your life?
Yeah. So I will say, while I was there, I actually got pregnant and then had another baby. So now I do have 5.
You've got 5.
So I do have 5
and
now.
You lost 1.
And I lost 1. Yep.
Holy cow.
And it was a blessing.
So if your husband just breathes on you, you're getting pregnant?
Yes.
Okay.
Pretty much. But the last one was definitely a blessing, because I didn't want to have any more. I never wanted to go through what I went through again, and I didn't want another baby to go through that.
Yeah.
But it was a blessing from the Lord for me to have 1 more, and she's amazing. All my kids are amazing. But coming out of that, I was, when I left the club, I knew that things needed to change. And I finally filed for divorce. And it was right around COVID. COVID hit, and he got really sick. And so I let him back into the house, and I was taking care of him because he was kind of on his own. And he kept telling me, I could go forward with the divorce. It's fine. He's going to be focusing on God. And that was one of the things that he would say before. But I'm like, he had been so sick from COVID that he almost had died sometimes. He would stop breathing.
So there's still some hope in there.
There is hope, yeah. And so we're on the phone with the judge when she's reading everything out. And I canceled it. And I remember I had tears, and he was like, "Oh, I hope those are happy tears." And I honestly was it took me so long to come to the point where I was finally moving forward with the divorce. That was the hardest thing for me. When I filed for divorce that time, my body was trembling when I went into the office, into the courthouse. But I was so scared that I wouldn't be strong enough to do that again. But I'm like, okay, I've done it once. If this stuff happens again, I will just leave. And so I told him, he set the boundaries, I'm not going to do this again. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to deal with these things.
Yeah.
And he agreed. And so things were kind of better on the surface. And then I'd find out he's still watching porn. He's still doing this and doing that. And he's
got it.
Strip clubs on his history. And
so he's not willing to even try.
There were a lot of areas that
sucks.
He really did amazing.
Yeah.
He'd bring me coffee in the morning. He'd make me breakfast in bed.
Sure, but as far as in the sexual area of his life and the sexual sin piece, he just wasn't willing to.
Had to stay hidden. Yeah. Okay. And essentially it was if I'm going to stay with him, I just have to accept that's how it is. Yeah. And I didn't want that. I was I don't want my boys to think it's okay to do this. I don't want my girls to think it's okay.
Yeah.
And I don't deserve that in my life either. And so after a couple more years, I was finally I'm done. Yeah. And that time when I filed for divorce, I had so much peace. It was a beautiful summer day. I had a beautiful summer dress on. I went in. I was joking with the guards. Totally different, night and day different from the first time. I had this absolute peace from the Lord. So for anybody that's going through that, for any women that are struggling to have a lot of kids, I would definitely say what I had to really think about is you have one life, and I spent 13 years with this man, and he'd done this stuff for 13 years. I only found out 5 years in, right? Yeah. And so the more...
But it's not like this guy's got he's got a porn addiction. He's wrestling through it. He's going to counseling. He wants to change. I mean, he's going to strip clubs. He's sleeping around on you. He's, this is this is pretty heavy covenant breaking things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Going through that is just realizing, like, God has so much more.
Yeah.
And I believe that he has a plan and purpose for everybody's life. And as long as I was in that situation, I felt like I was being held back from everything else that God had for me. It really feels very limiting because I'm attaching myself to everything that he's doing. To all of his sins, like whatever's coming against him, it's coming upon his house. I had to separate myself from that, my kids from that, and really step into, okay, Lord, like, what do you have for my life? Because right now I'm building again from like the ground up. Right now I've got 5 kids, and it was scary, but I really having to like lock my eyes on Jesus and like, I know you're going to get me through this. That was a big thing. And my mom, of course, has been such a blessing to me. And I know not everybody has that kind of support, but my mom was a huge blessing. But when I came out of it with my 5 babies, I moved back to Spokane. I felt called back to here, although I love North Idaho. I felt called here. Yeah. And the Lord has just opened so many doors for me, like ministry. I'm very involved with a lot of different ministries here, business. Just I do so much now that I never would have imagined was possible for me while I was in that situation.
How do you discover the coaching in your calling? Like, what happens for you to go, okay, I'm moving on, I'm trusting the Lord, but something must have shifted or changed, or an opportunity must have arisen or something to be willing to say, I'm going to give this a shot of all the things. Why this?
Yeah. So I will say when I was working at the club, I did do one smart thing. I used to really love, and this kind of comes together with business, but I used to really love like the little itty bitty Pomeranians. I'm not a small dog person, but I love the little itty bitty tiny fluff balls with eyes, right? So they got 2 dark eyes and like a cotton ball. But they're a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And I bought one, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to buy another one. And so I got some really good quality AKC little Pomeranians. And then I was like, you know, I'm going to get some more. And so I got some imported, and I started a little side thing. Okay. And it was very, very much on the side. But I'd have like 1-2 litters a year. Okay. It's not a lot, but I was selling my puppies for $5,000.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Okay. And that's really where it sparked like the marketing and stuff for me. Okay. And I was looking at these other companies that are selling their dogs with $5,000, and they're not AKC registered, they're not guaranteed purebred, but their website looks amazing. Mm-hmm. And their puppies are like, there's this one's gone, that one's gone, that one's gone. And I was like, how can they charge that much for theirs, and they're not registered, they're not guaranteed on size, and not guaranteed purebred. And so I started looking into like marketing and how to do a website and how to like write the content and do the pictures to make them look really good. And then I started to have some more puppies, and and I had people that were coming to me like they just got a puppy, and some months later like, I really want another one, and like I just sent the deposit, and I'm like, I think we don't list these ones yet, right? And so I had that a little bit on the side. It was nothing that I could live off of. Okay. Not at the time, not at where I was with it, right? Sure. Unless I want to make it like this full blown thing, but it kind of gave me the idea of like I can actually do this. And then my brother, he has a solar company, and he was like, "Hey, do you want to start like maybe trying to do some like sales for me like over the phone?" Yeah. And so I had a couple sales, and that was scary. It was very different than selling a $5,000 dog. I was selling one was like a $13,000 system, and one was like a $64,000 system. Yeah. And so it was a big jump from dogs. And to kind of tie it back to coaching, though, I was like, I have to figure out how to get my own leads, because most of the leads that were coming to me were like people like, I didn't ask anything about this, I don't know what this is, and he was buying leads from a company I was supposed to be marketing for him. And I'm like, I have to figure out how to do marketing, get my own leads. And as I started diving into that, then I came across something about coaching. And I was like, I really wanted to do something, my own business, working for myself. I wanted to do something that felt purposeful, impactful. Like, everybody loves a good puppy, right? A cute little fluff ball. But it wasn't like impactful on like a grand level, right?
Okay.
And I thought, I really want to help the woman that I was. Where I was when I was sitting on the bathroom floor crying and multiple times, or hiding my face in the pillow and crying so my kids can't hear me, and just feeling like so hopeless. I wanted to help that woman. And so I got into coaching. I'd already studied, at that time, I had studied so much about relationships and toxic relationships and signs of that, and the tactics that they use, and narcissistic abuse and stuff. And so I really wanted to help that woman that I was. And I got into coaching with that and started doing like one-to-one coaching. And the transformations these people were having it was amazing. They come on the call and they're just crying. By the end of the call, they're like, they have hope and they're smiling and they're like, thank you. And they have like, that spark again, and they're ready to go out. And it was amazing. I wrote a book also on reclaiming your life after narcissistic abuse. And it's called Made for More, Reclaim Your Life After Narcissistic Abuse. And it's on Amazon. But I wrote that book, and it's very faith-centered about, coming out of it with forgiveness and grace, but knowing, because like they want to forgive the person, but they also feel like they have to stay. That's who I was, right? And knowing that you can step away. You're not required to step away depending on the situation, but sometimes it's for the best. And from there, I had people asking me, how did you do your business? How did you get into coaching? And so I started helping people on the side with their business, and now that's what I do.
Well, I would think there would be a big market, or there would be a market for it, because I know for like women that we work with, if all they've ever known is the sex industry, they have a lot of different abilities and a lot of different creative things that God's put in their heart, and a lot of things that they could do, but they just don't know what those might be, or they don't know the pathway to make those things happen. They've been told since they were a little girl, this is the only thing you're valued for. This is the only way you can make money. So even if they're sitting there going deep down, I want to do something else, they might not know of an alternative way to make money. Is that something you kind of help through the process to just help them self-discover things they're good at? Because I would imagine that would be maybe the most freeing thing, to discover different opportunities and things that they could start going after, if they believe that there isn't something.
Yeah, so I don't do the relationship coaching anymore. But one thing that I didn't really want to connect with that at the time when I was going through that, and then I'm like realizing where I was, and I was afraid, how am I going to like provide for my kids, and like what am I going to do? I haven't been in the like working world for so many years, and so there was a lot of fear, and I think a lot of women feel that same way. But I was like, there's so many opportunities online for making business, or for making a business, for making money. There's so many opportunities, and that is kind of what I help people with now. Is especially in coaching now, I help different businesses. I've helped like local businesses, like with websites and things like that too, right, with their marketing. But overall, my main focus is more towards helping coaches to get clear on like their niche, and like what are they going to sell? How did they package it? How did they put an offer on it? How did they sell it? That's really like my main focus, and the messaging part of it, right?
Yeah.
So for the women that are thinking like this is the only way that I can make money, it is absolutely a lie. It's a lie of the enemy. It's an identity thing too, because there's this feeling of other people can do that, but I can't. And especially if you grew up without very much money. Yeah. It's like, other people can do this, but that's too far out of reach for me. Like, you just haven't experienced it yet. And so your mind doesn't comprehend what it even feels like to do that. Yeah. And so it just is, it's unfamiliar. unfamiliar things can be scary for people, and so they don't step that way. But just taking like the small little steps and like getting into like a coaching program, like just a small introductory one to show you what's possible, is a really good first step.
Yeah. What have you learned in the coaching of the importance of like a personal brand for people that are in companies? Because that's something that I had no understanding of, but as you get out of Spokane, a lot of times Spokane's like 5-10 years behind in some things. And so once you step out of this city and you start connecting with people that are kind of ahead of the curve, and they're kind of like, you can kind of see where things are heading. And I basically was being told by everybody that is pretty successful or that I'm learning from on how to grow the ministry, they all were talking about like personal brand and how important that's going to be in the future. Is that something that you're seeing?
100%. So,
because it feels narcissistic to do it a bit. I'm being honest. Like even having my name on this, it was really hard for me because I just want to help advance the kingdom of God. And I didn't really understand that, like, just like helping captives, people have a thought process on that, or people have a thought process, and the different ministries that I've started, they have a thought process of me, and that I need to be the best version of myself. And when I started looking and processing, I'm like, I follow Tim Tebow. Like that's like, it's not just what Tim does. I'm like, I might not follow his foundation, but I follow him, or I might not follow some of my favorite speakers or pastors' churches, but I follow them. And just like over time realizing like a lot of times people do connect a business or a ministry to a person, and if I'm not out there, I'm affecting the amount of people I can help. You know, that's kind of what got for me. But what are you seeing?
I would really look at, for example, like Elon Musk. He has Starlink, he has Tesla, he's got all these different things going on, right? And
so we're gonna look at the number one guy in the world. That's where we're going right now.
Well, yes, exactly. No, so but people will buy things from him. Like he has solar roofs and stuff. Yeah. Like people will buy from him because they liked him.
It's him, yeah.
It's him. Doesn't matter what he puts his name on.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got Mr. Beast. It's chocolate bars.
Yeah.
People buy it. I've tried them, and I hope he doesn't see this, but I don't think that it's like that extravagant, right?
Yeah.
But people buy it because they're loyal to him. They like him. They follow him. They connect with him.
Yeah. The kids are walking down the aisle and they go, I'm getting the Mr. Beast bars, instead of Hershey's because I like him. I'm connecting with him.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so people will they'll buy into a business, an offer, a mission, whatever it is, because of the person before they buy into even like the mission. So, or the offer and stuff like that. So people might, there's a lot of different missions that are aiming to do the same thing, right? But what sets you apart from another one? It's like who is leading it. So people will look at who's the person that's leading it. Can I relate to them? Do they see me? Do they, like, a lot of people want to feel like uplifted and seen and encouraged. And what's interesting is they want to feel like the know, like, and trust factor. Have you heard that? The know, like, trust. Okay. So before somebody in business, before they'll buy from you, they have to feel like they know, like, and trust you.
Okay.
Right? And
could see that. Yeah.
And there's, there were stats before that it's like somebody has to spend about 7 hours with you before they'll buy like a high ticket offer from you. Yeah. But they don't have to spend 7 hours actually with you though. They feel like they're spending time with you, and you've got social media, videos, and they're reading your content. Yeah. Then they feel like they know you. They like you. They trust you. They like your vision, what you stand for, you on like a personal level. So that's, when you're like, hey, this is what I'm up to today. Yeah. This is like how it connects to this thing. This is what I stand for. This is what I stand against. People see that, and they're going to be like, yeah, I really like this person. Especially if you can say, this is what I stand for and this is what I stand against. And you can separate yourself from people. Yeah. It will draw in a lot of criticism, but you're also going to draw in even more people that are just like, all about you, like your mission, your
Okay.
vision, because you're saying the things that other people want to say,
Yeah.
but they're too afraid to say.
Yeah.
So you instantly become the leader.
Got it. Yeah, because there's definitely a fear of going, like, I didn't even have Instagram or anything a couple of years ago, because you're just going, man, it doesn't matter what I do or what I say. As soon as I say something, half of the world's going to hate it.
Yeah.
You know, and you just kind of have to get over yourself but then also realize that if I'm not out doing this or I'm not communicating, someone else is. And are they sending the message to the next generation that I really want them to hear? You know? So, yeah, how do you help people through that mental block to even being willing to step out into the light to share their story so that people can know, like, and trust them? Because it's terrifying.
Yeah, it definitely is. So when I was just starting to post my stuff on Facebook, I was pretty afraid as well. And I had a coach at the time, and she was like, "Are they paying your bills?" And I was like, "No." All right, because I'm like, if I post something, especially with talking about narcissistic abuse at the time, that's huge. And being very open and vulnerable about like what I experienced and trying to help other people, because you're speaking to your ideal client. You're speaking to the person that you once were, that you're helping, right?
Okay.
And I was so afraid. I had a lot of people from church, I had friends, family, and I'm like, they're going to see this and think I've lost my mind. Because suddenly I'm talking to this one person and not, hey, look at you guys, so I'm doing today. And sure enough, I had people message me and say, Brianna, are you okay? Brianna, how are you doing? Are you fine?
Yeah.
Is everything okay? Can I pray for you? I'm like, I promise I'm fine, you guys. And when I did that, though, it really took off. I had so many people that were messaging. It's like knowing that if you don't show up in this way, there are people out there that, like, God has set work aside for you to do. He has. And there are people out there that He has lined up that He wants you to talk to. And if you don't do it, like, He will still do His plans, but He'll do it through somebody else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Esther, Mordecai says that to Esther. If you don't do this, God is still going to do it, but through somebody else.
Yeah.
That terrifies me. Like, I'm jealous for the call God has on my life.
Okay.
So if you don't step out, like, how many people are out there that need the message right now? How many people right this very second are the person that's sitting on the bathroom floor crying and feeling hopeless? Like, there's nothing that they can do. Nobody sees them. Nobody knows about them. Nobody knows what they're going through. They carry shame. They carry fear and all of this stuff that they're carrying. And they think that they can't come out and step into the world and become the person that God has called them to do.
Yeah.
Or to be. But for the person that God has called to speak into that person's life, when you are speaking to their life, you're speaking life into them.
Yeah.
You're showing them there is a way out. You're giving them hope.
Yeah.
And you're helping them to step back out into the world and become everything that they're supposed to be. And then they can do that for others, right? And it's that ripple effect. So like you said, it's kind of getting over yourself, where a lot of Christians too, I believe, it's like we don't want to seem boastful or proud or put our name on it.
Yeah.
And with ministry, I'm not for like brands with ministry. Like, yes, you have like a church name, a ministry name, things like that. But ultimately we come to represent Christ, right?
Yep.
And it's okay. Paul had a name and people knew his name, right? Right?
I've
People
never
knew his
thought
name.
of it that way. Yeah.
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 So it's okay. People followed along what he was saying because they knew him and what he stood for.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So.
Huh. It's an interesting way to look at it. I think ultimately for me, I just want to be able to reach as many people with the gospel and to help people be willing to like step into their calling, to transform our city, to transform our community for the Lord, to bring people on like you that are actively doing that. And then if I'm too scared to do that, and it's gonna, not get our message out or the branding out there, so that more people can hear about what we do, so we can reach more women, help more women. Just because of my fear, I'm like, that was what got me. I was like, ultimately, this is going to impact more lives. If more people hear about the mission, if I can step out in whatever way I can do it, if it helps rescue more women, then it's worth it, you know? But where do you see, I don't know, you're just like, there's so many ways we could go with this, but we'll wrap it up. But I'm thinking, like, what is your ideal client if people are trying to get a hold of you?
It's a good question. My ideal client is typically people that are trying to build an online presence, and they need help with their messaging and just growing, getting their leads out there. I love to help coaches because it's so easy, it's fun, it's rewarding. I have a client right now that he was helping other people through his ministry. He's helping women that were going through difficult, toxic relationships, and he wanted to make money doing it too. Or doing something, you know, he's doing that, but he wanted to branch into coaching. So he came to me and he started a coaching business, and he's got 3 high-ticket clients now. And but I have somebody else, like, I don't even know if I should, like, mention all of his credentials, but, like, this guy who's worked in major Hollywood films reached out to me because he's branching out on this certain path with his business, and he reached out for help with messaging and growing his presence and stuff like that. And so... so my ideal client is really generally somebody that's trying to just grow their presence and find leads online. Okay.
How can people find you?
I am on Facebook primarily. So you can find me on Facebook. It's Brianna Thaxton Official. I also have a website, briannathaxton.com.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming in and sharing with us your story. I know that you're out there and you're coaching and doing stuff, but I don't know if you fully told your story on a lot of platforms, and so I thank you for being willing to come and do that. I think that it, for me, is just helpful to hear stories like this, to even hear really the heart behind just wanting to have a husband that only has eyes for you, that is willing to like grow and learn and become a better man because you're worth it. And that's what you've always wanted. And I think that's what women deeply want for a generation of guys that are addicted to pornography, struggling with that, and maybe didn't grow up with a father and have been kind of told by society, this is your value, this is how you can make quick money. And for somebody to go through that and to continue to trust the Lord, to be able to get creative in different ways that you could take care of your family and your kids. I just want to honor you for that. Thank you. And I think you're a great example for other people that are coming out of situations like that. And I just pray that your coaching business will continue to grow. And I think the message is super impactful and powerful. And I think especially in a generation now where women are running to OnlyFans, I think it's more important now than ever to be able to just share about it. And I hope that that your willingness to kind of open up and share this side of your story actually just helps grow your mission even more, because you're not alone. There's a lot of women out there that are going through similar stuff that you're going through, and I think you'll be a huge inspiration to them.
Amen. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks for tuning into today's episode. If you enjoyed the conversation, I want you to make sure to like and share and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. We're grateful for every listener. Your support helps us keep sharing stories of faith, hope, and real transformation. And if this episode encouraged or challenged you, consider sharing it with someone who might need to hear it. If you'd like to support victims of sex trafficking and be part of the fight for freedom, visit helpingcaptives.org to learn more. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.